I covered at 10, I believe it's around 10:30, so right around 96, 98-ish. So that will be the $3 million profit. I believe also a multi-day runner. It went from 70 cents to 8. I think the initial market cap is around 1 billion. So I had overall 300k shares. I think made about $10 million on BMNR. So hello guys, BYND here. So it's been a long time that I haven't done a video. I want to give an overall recap about 2025 of what happened in terms of trading wise. I want to focus on a couple of the big trades that I did in 2025 and also one of the biggest losses that I ever had in 2025 as well. And also I'm going to cover some of the trades in 2026 as well. So let's get into it. So first of all, there's a few trades that happened at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, the end of the year. So POTR, I'm pretty sure I already went over this. I think last year we did a first red day after a crazy roundup on POTR. I sized in at the close, aiming for a following red day. It turns out it happened. I covered at 10, I believe it's around 10:30, so right around 96, 98-ish. So that will be the $3 million profit. CRCL, this one was an IPO in June of 2025, and I think I took a loss at the front side for $1 million. Then I caught the first red day, and I caught the following red day, then I caught the red day after that. So those are the profitable days, and overall minus the losses, I think this will be a $7 million gain. So the idea for trading CRCL, of course, this is a IPO first red day, so the extension is from 66 to 300. So that's a 500% round up based on a $6 billion IPO. So typically we run into a higher market cap on IPOs, especially above 5 billion. The dollar block specifically on those tickers are really high. So I would highly recommend either for it to go red or sizing in after the first red day if it didn't produce a large range. Specifically for CRCL, and if we show the first red day, of course you show the second red day. If the first red day drops over 50% from the previous high, which is around 300, let's say drops on the first red day, drops to 170 or 150, then it's not worth it to short on the following day. So same concept applies POTR. So that's why it made CRCL a lot more profitable compared to POTR, because this is a parabolic run-up. I believe POTR was not a parabolic run-up. We had the news, it came in, destroyed the momentum in the afternoon, and of course people are gonna panic on the following day, so we're catching the red day after the following day. So there was not much range was produced in POTR, but CRCL was, I would say, a very obvious first red day, and of course the range was sufficient enough to short for almost 3 days. Another trade will be BYND. BYND is, I believe, also a multi-day runner. It went from 70 cents to 8. I think the initial market cap is around 1 billion. It was trading 2 billion-ish market cap, and it had its open. It went down, then it reversed back to the pre-market high, tested 7. So I took a try. Once it broke its momentum on the open, that's where I increased my size. I think I had about 2 million shares. So my average is around 7, I believe. It went all the way down to 2 or 3. So I made about, I would say, between two accounts, I had about 2 million shares at 7, and the average cover price I was covering along the way, so probably the average is between 3 to 3.5. So overall it was a $7-8 million trade. I have other accounts and a few hundred thousand shares, so overall it was close to $10 million trade on BYND. Then I had another very profitable trade on BMNR. So when it went from 3 to 160 and consolidated in the 140-ish, I was shorting it pretty much every day. I took a loss here around 45. I covered in the 62-ish. This one was I thought it already overextended enough since it started from 5 to all the way to 74. So it had 500% run up. Shorting against the previous dollar block turns out didn't work. This is where the dollar block did not work, since it had sufficient enough range. I believe it was very crowded, and also I was respecting my risk. So I caught losses around, I think once it went above 60-ish. So I had 700K loss on there. So I took a loss again, I think on the following day. I thought the first red is coming. It had a massive gap down. So I shorted it in the 120 push. The loss wasn't significant because it went all the way down and came back. So the loss is only like 150K to 200. Then I stopped shorting it, and I believe the consolidation is around 120-ish on the previous 2 days. So I decided to take a try, and it went down, and I saw it filed a S3 dilution. That's where I pretty much dropped in big size. So I had overall 300K shares, I think. Made about $10 million on BMNR. So that is the biggest trades on BMNR, BYND, CRCL, and POTR. So POTR was 3, CRCL was about 7, BYND was about around 10, and BMNR is around 10. So overall is close to 30 something million dollar. The overall 2025 year was going pretty good until October. So yes, around October, and we saw Bitcoin decided to break out. So I pretty much longed BMNR around, I believe it's around 60, 58, 60-ish, and they started adding around 52. So I started building a large position on the coin related stocks. The heaviest position on my account was BMNR. So I had, I think it was probably around between 2 accounts, 2+ million shares. So then after the Bitcoin fake out, I did not cut my losses. I thought I was going to hold a very long term. So I was trying to do a long-term positions, and I was not focused on my short-term parabolics or shorting, what I always do best. I think I took probably $30 to $40 million loss on just one trade on this BMNR, trying to go long. So I was trying to hold it as a long-term idea, but it was not very focused on the strategy of having a good risk reward management, and also a statistics based with thousands of samples backing up the statistics. So pretty much was not focused on the idea of being consistent profitable and trying to hold position for long term without a stop loss, and turns out it became a huge disaster. So for overall 2025, I think overall I was down, I think 30 to 40%, and it wiped out all my gains from POTR, BMNR, and it was not a very pleasant trade. So going forward, after learning about 2025 losses, and I decided to only and focused on short-term shorting opportunities, shorting into parabolics and different patterns, holding into long-term, holding on massive positions. I don't think it really works for me. So I've tried that twice in 2025, and the only thing that happens is either I cut even or I take more losses. So after that, I tend to study more in long-term cycles, and I finally knew the reason why I took a loss. So long-term positions, you have to focus on long-term cycles based on statistics as well. It's the same idea using patterns and volume on the short term. So specifically, you cannot long something that's not based on cycle, not based on statistics. So you have to have statistics on your side, and also holding on long-term positions. It requires a very precise risk management rule. It's a little bit different compared to shorting. You can use options to protect your gains, and that is a little bit, I don't want to say complicated. It's more, I'm not too familiar with the long-term strategy. So there's not more for me to learn. But I took a very big loss, and I think 2025 is probably the biggest loss on the number wise. So now let's go into 2026. So after the 2025 losses, I'll specifically want to focus on short term. So there is some trades in 2026, the silver trade. So after I was down 30-40%, I was up quite a bit. I was up, I think about 300-400%, went all the way from 300-400% to down 30-40%, and changed my strategy. I have to reduce my long-term exposures significantly down to probably 80-90%, only focus on what I do best for shorting specific parabolic moves. So on SLV, I think I tried to short it 3 times based on the silver historical performance. This one went from, I think it started on the breakouts around 50 to all the way to 100. And the market cap on this is, of course, very different. So you can't not really use dollar block specifically for this sector. And I was also going with gold as well. And silver is you can think of it's more of a high beta stock compared to gold. So while it's going parabolic, I think I tried to short first lows here on the double top, 84 and 85, risking the 86-ish. So I got stopped out right there for, I believe it was 500 to 600K losses. Then you had 5 consecutive days of going up, and you gapped up about 15%, I believe, on this day. I think it was a little bit more or less. Tried to short, took a loss again, but this time I did not tend to hold overnight. And on the silver breakdown, I think I caught it around 106. I was for sure that thought the stock is completely dead and came all the way back to 105. So I took some profits along the way and made all my losses back on the first on this day. And of course, the stock gapped down after 8 p.m. So when it opened around 92, 93-ish. So it wasn't really worth it to short after it gapped down. I think it was 15, 16%. It was somewhere close to 20%, and I thought it wasn't worth it. After the momentum shift, the performance on silver, it was very similar back in, I believe it's 2012. So after the momentum breakdown, it had one test the low and second time or another 2 times of testing the lows before it goes up. So if you compare this action to here, it's very similar. So I started to buy, I think it was around close to 68, 70-ish, sold into the 80s, then bought again, then sold again. I think it was 83 that turned around and shorting it all the way down. So the majority of the profit was not made on the massive crackdown. It was made during this consolidation that's very similar to 2012. So overall, it was 600K, 700K-ish left and right, but silver was a very profitable trade. I think I made about $5 million between silver and gold. Another 2 important trades was bird and cars. Those 2 are ideally because the flow was big and had a 200 million consolidation, so I shorted into as a classic pattern of oversized gap down, shorted into the 15s and went all the way down to 10. So I made about $2 million on this trade. This is really easy. On car, this is one of my biggest trade in 2026, and I think I've climbed not all the way back, but I'm very close to the peak of 2025. So I've recovered pretty much 80 to 90% of my losses from silver, bird, and car. So silver was $5 million trade, bird was 2, so that's 7. On car specifically, I made $20 million on car between all my accounts. First trade was here, I believe, in the 400-ish. So it was attempting for a double top. I came all the way back and finished really strong on the day. So I took about 800K losses on there, and I stopped taking trades after that. On this day, I did not place any trade. Before the crackdown, I want to see the stock goes red. So when it went red, it tested I think it was 769. 750, so my average was 750. Basically shorted around 750, covered in the 4. I think I covered on the crackdown of 550, then covered the final around 450-ish, and then shorted again on the open, going to after the first red day. And this is a little bit different because this one has a bunch of dilutions after first red day, so I believe that once the momentum shifts, they will want to execute all their shares going to the following day. So between those 2 days, I made about 20 million. So overall it's 20 plus 5 plus 7, 27 million. And there's some trades here and there overall in 2026. So pretty much climbed all the way back. It was quite a roller coaster. It wasn't very good experience, but I had to learn from mistakes, and I'm not the best traders, and also never run away from your original thesis that you have to trade based on statistics based, and also trade on good risk management. If you don't have that, you're gonna run into a big mistake. So, but that's what happened in 2025 and 2026. On the overall note, massive mistakes was made, but on the ending note, it wasn't too bad. That's what happened. There were some tickers this month. In May, there is AIIO and AEHO, HTCO, and also all those tickers are trading around 500K to 1 million shares. So 500K to 1 million float, so which is not really worth it to trade. And also they're all trading under $5. When the ticker is crowded and it's trading $5, then not really worth it to short. And there's not much reward and your risk is way too wide. So that's what happened in this month. So overall, that's in 2025, 2026. I haven't seen you guys for a very long time, but yeah, guys, that'll be all. Never follow mistakes, follow your rules, good risk management and statistics based. And also, if you're on a hot run, like me in 2025, before the giant losses, always take profits off the table. All right, guys, that'll be it. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys, I don't know, maybe in the next 3 months.